Hi, Jordan here in Red Bay, Alabama still. Thank you for sticking with me. I had a great time at the Georgette Jones concert. She's a great singer and was a great person to me. She signed my guitar near where her dad had signed it about 25 years ago. Believe it or not, time goes fast. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Her band was great too, and I feel like giving special mention to Lauren Stewart, who was the violinist there. She did a great job. They really all did. Fantastic show and worth being here for. I watched my last video and realized that I hadn't said what happened to the Wagoneer outside of Nashville. The shop that had it there told me that the distributor had developed a crack in the plastic, and so it, with the sparks and stuff in there, it ended up exploding. And they were able to get a new distributor, get it put in, and get the car running again. There also was another little story there that might be of interest, which has to do with the history of the Wagoneer. So I think maybe we could kind of go back and review that a little bit here quickly. The Wagoneer was originally designed by the Kaiser Jeep Corporation, together with a designer who designed a Studebaker called the Wagoneer, which was meant to be kind of a functional car that you could take out on for picnics and stuff and even sleep in comfortably. And the Jeeps up to that point had really just been utilitarian vehicles. They were really pretty much war surplus type vehicles, and they had been continued on for civilian use, but really just for like farmers and mountaineers, and just they were very simple, rough, like I say, utilitarian vehicles. And they had this idea to kind of join a wagon type body that would be functional and comfortable with this four-wheel drivetrain of the Jeep, and came out with the Wagoneer, which, as I understand it, at the time was considered a pretty risky move. It was not a concept that anybody really understood at the time, and they invested quite a bit of money into developing it. So there were people speculating that it would put the company under, but they decided to move forward with it. They introduced the first models at auto shows in 1962, and there were some reviews done in magazines. The reception was kind of mixed. They were pretty expensive as one factor too, because they were made in small numbers, and four-wheel drives at that time were real specialized vehicles. And so there was a good enough reception, though, that they decided to go ahead and put it into production, and in 1963 the first models were available to the general public. Kaiser went ahead and produced those vehicles until 1970, when they sold the Jeep division to AMC, American Motors Corporation. And through the 1970s they kind of made it a little bit more pizzazzy. They put chrome wheels on it and raised white letter tires and big stripes and big lettering and stuff, and introduced the wood siding that they came to be known for later. And they started making some more upscale revisions. They had a set of options called the Wagoneer Limited that was introduced in 1978 that had leather seats and a Jensen stereo and stuff like that. And but then they started having some financial difficulties by the mid-1980s, and had something to do with their relationship with Renault, also in France, and which also was having difficulties, I guess. During that time, they were doing some joint production ventures with Chrysler, who had been wanting some room to be able to expand their line of production, and it was cheaper for them to kind of contract out with AMC than to build their own new facilities. And that led to kind of a partnership where they ended up buying a bunch of stock in AMC and eventually took over the company in about 1987. This leads us to the story that was told to me by the owner of that shop there. He said that he had worked for Chrysler at that time and seen all of these things happen, and he wanted to share this story with me because he thought I'd find it interesting. And I can't vouch for its accuracy, but he said it to me quite in earnest and wanting to share something with me that he thought I should know. He said that Lee Iacocca, who was the CEO of Chrysler at the time, he was well known to us in the day, kind of a minor celebrity, really. He even had a short run for President of the United States at one point. He had really loved the Wagoneer and wanted to keep it going as a traditional American car, and there were some politics going on in Chrysler. Some other members of the board who didn't like him and stuff wanted to see him ousted, and so they managed to get together and outvoted him to get the Wagoneer canceled as a project and just ended, which made him really mad, and his feeling dissed by the rest of the company is part of what made him so uncomfortable that he decided to leave the company. I tried to verify that story online or anywhere else, and I haven't found any verification of it, but who knows, maybe it'll be interesting to keep it here for posterity. So yeah, I managed to get the Jeep to Denver, as I described in my last video, and started taking it around to different shops to get things done. First thing it needed was a complete overhaul of the exhaust system from head to toe. It needed a new carburetor, and we finally were able to get it running a bit better, so it was more reliable as a driver. The ball joints were shot, and so were the calipers and the brake linings. The brake lines themselves were frayed, and so they were kind of scary. And so got a complete new brake system on it. And they discovered that the four-wheel drive wasn't working, so the four-wheel drive specialist got that all redone and got it to where the four-wheel drive worked. And they put new leaf springs on it all the way around while they were at it. Also, the drive shaft was found to be bent, so we got it reconditioned and redone, and then along the way too, I suspected maybe the frame was bent, so I got the frame measured, and sure enough, it was bent. So the shop there said probably one of the previous owners had done some really rough four-wheeling in it. They thought that's probably how that happened, and so they were able to put it on a big machine and straighten out the frame. And I got another shop to measure the frame later and verify that it was straight now, and yes, it was, so that's good. The rear differential gears were kind of grinding, and they were sort of worn, so maybe because of the frame being bent, I'm not sure, but got a new rear differential put into the vehicle. And Noah too, the seller, had not been able to find the door key for it because he said they just never locked it. So they lived out on a farm and just took it into town sometimes and didn't lock it when they were there. So I got the new keys made for it, and then shortly after that, one of the locks itself broke, so I ended up putting new door locks in. And Noah too had said that the sunroof didn't work real well. I was able to get the sunroof open on the drive back towards Denver, but and it was great for the drive, but then I couldn't get it closed. So the shop that I had it in managed to get the sunroof closed, and then after that I didn't want to open it again. And this leads me to probably subjects for next videos, so I hope you've enjoyed this one, and we'll catch you next.